guys, welcome back to Thotology. I'm Mariah Malabuji, but you already knew that. So today I have two of my friends here. One's from the Air Force, one is not from the Air Force. Becca, why don't you introduce yourself?
Alright, hey, my name's Becca. I met Mariah in the Air Force. I'm the Air Force friend.
And then this is my friend Sarah.
I'm Sarah. I am the non-Air Force friend. I met Mariah out at the club.
Yeah, we did. And we became best friends.
Instant.
And we kind of look just a little bit alike, and people confuse us sometimes.
Twins.
Yeah, so it doesn't help that we're both wearing glasses today either. I almost wore ones just like that too, and she,
Really?
yeah, and she was like, "Your face is too rectangular for that." And I was like, "Thanks, that's a good friend." So we're gonna talk about some stuff today, guys. So my friend Sarah is here to give some unsolicited and unprofessional advice with her very large brain. All right, and it's gonna sting, okay? It's gonna hurt. And if it hurts your feelings, it's because you needed to hear it. I've already told you guys this before. If it hurts and you take it personally, it's probably because you needed to hear it, okay? So we're gonna talk about relationships a little bit. We're gonna talk about all that good stuff.
Self-love.
Yeah, and so basically we're gonna get into how me and Becca met and why her ex-husband hates me, but it doesn't matter, because to this day if we fought, I know I would win. And he knows that, so go ahead.
Alright, so it's been 3 years now?
I think so.
Yeah, about 3 years.
2017 I think we met.
Yes, because right before, we met a month before I got married. 2 months, and I don't know if you, like, I believe in soulmates because of Mariah. Like, it doesn't have to be someone you're in love with, but 100% Mariah came into my life for a very specific reason. And that reason
To fuck shit up, mostly.
was to end my marriage.
I've ended a couple marriages. It's fine.
No,
It's okay. Wait, hold on. I didn't end marriage, like, I did not end that marriage. You know, I wasn't the other lady, okay? I just wanted to clarify that.
No,
She assisted.
Yeah, I assisted
Yes, she did.
their transition out of their lives.
It was perfect. So we actually, it was through work, we met at work, and we would convince our boss that it was a one-man job, and we convinced him he needed 2 people to go do it.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, you need to send it. So
You gotta send us both. We're interviewing as a team, or we're doing it as a team.
Always. And so I remember, like, I'd be sitting in the, she'd be in the passenger side with her feet up on the dashboard, the office on the phone, just sitting there watching the office the entire time. That was us working.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's like a special assignment. What was it called again?
Flightline escort?
Flightline escort, yeah. So
Yes.
it's like a job away from our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just like, starting so-and-so, like, we really, no, you need 2 people out there, man. Like, you cannot send an airman out there by themselves.
It's
Like,
not a
that's just
one-man
not
job.
okay. Like,
No.
how could you? But yeah, so, you want to talk about, which part do you want to talk about? Because I can't wait to have a conversation about when I was like, listen.
So, like I said, so she came into my life for a very specific reason. I met her two months before before my wedding, and she hit me up and she's like, hey, like, let's go get coffee. And I'm like, okay, great, let's go do that. So we went and had coffee, and it was that very first day that you're like, something's not right. This is not healthy, because we went to go get coffee at the Starbucks right down the road, and he was like texting me, my ex, Brent.
Brent. What a fucking douche.
Was like, where are you? When are you coming home? Why are you taking so long? What's going on? What are you guys talking about? Like, freaking out all this whole time. So Mariah's just sitting there, drinking her iced coffee, staring at me like, what are you putting up with this for?
But I didn't say anything yet, because it wasn't my place.
No, it wasn't. So, I mean, that was the beginning of it, and, I mean, what is it?
You want me to go into it?
Yeah, have at
Because
it.
you know I'm a great storyteller.
You've been ready for this.
So basically we met, and she took me out, so I was hanging out with 2 girls who I'm not going to name, but thing 1 and thing 2, that's what I like to call them. But, you know, I wasn't hanging out with them anymore, and so Becca and her ex-husband, Brent, took me out for my birthday, but they were not married yet. And I just noticed how when she was around him, she looked like nervous all the time. She just seemed uncomfortable, and she just seemed like she was trying to make him happy, but at the cost of her happiness. And so I was like Sarah's nodding. She knows, like,
Yep.
I'm telling you, Sarah knows all about this stuff. So I was observing. I was just like, she seems not at ease with herself, you know? And so we had just met, so I was like waiting it out. And then she invited me to the wedding, and I was trying to go, and one night so she would call me when she had problems, you know, and one night specifically we were hanging out and she was just like, I could tell she was having doubts. And I knew she didn't want to say it. And she was just like, yeah, you know, the wedding. And I was just like, dude, I know I've only been friends with you for a month, but I said I might be out of line, but I gotta say this to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, do you think you're making a mistake? And she just like looked at me and she was like, yes. And I was just like, you don't have to do this. You know, you don't have to do this. And she was just like, well, my parents, like, they put all this money down on the wedding and like, you know, all this other stuff. And I was just like, listen, I said, money is money. I was like, your happiness in your relationship, like, that's a completely different thing. Like, and I was just like, you don't have to do this. I was like, maybe you guys aren't ready. Like, he needs to work on himself, whatever. I mean, just, he was so, we went to Target one time. We were gone for 30 minutes.
Yes.
And he was like, it doesn't take that long. What are you doing? What are you getting? Just 30 minutes.
That's a quote.
30 minutes. It doesn't take that long to go to Target. Like, what are you doing? Where are you at? Blah, blah, blah. Like, ridiculous stuff. And, like, you're perfect in my eyes. But they would lie to each other about dumb things. Like, stupid things. And I understood why she would tell her tiny little white lies because I've been in relationships like that where it's like, if you were honest and you didn't even do anything wrong, she started lying to avoid confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
Because she wasn't doing anything wrong, but he was psychologically tormenting her and she was tired of it. And then he would lie about like stupid things, like he bought, a PlayStation or an Xbox one time and like would just randomly lie about things like that and, you know, so whatever. So basically, she calls me one night and she's like devastated. Wait, when did you come to my house? Was that after the wedding?
That was after the wedding.
Okay,
Because
so
were, like, at that point we were already married, like marriage certificate sent in, like there was.
Okay, so then basically I had talked back into, I was like, listen, why don't you guys have the wedding and not sign anything
and not send it in, which is
send it in.
What we were planning on doing until my parents found out, and my dad called me. He's like, "Are we going to a wedding or are we going to a party?" And I'm like, "Well."
You should see Sarah's shocked face, guys. It's great.
Like,
But
why are they stakeholders? Why are your parents? Oh.
yeah, exactly. And so because you know me, I'm like a secret genius. I was like, listen, that sounds like a great idea to me. Just go to the wedding and don't send it in. Bada boom, bada bang, baby.
Just a big ol' party.
Yeah, nobody has to be the wiser. Like, and then so what was it a month after or a week after that you guys were?
It was about a month because we were good for about like a week or two afterwards, and a month like. Something drastically changed in him, like where it was a flip switch. If he was home, I had to be home. Like I used to go running with friends. I couldn't go work out with them. I couldn't even go to Mariah's house. I couldn't for anything. And so one night, like we got in a really, really big fight, and I got in a habit of starting to record our arguments because I can't remember anything. I'm not gonna remember anything, so
Unlike me, I remember everything.
Yes, and so I recorded it, and his thing, he was like, I don't want you to be friends with Mariah anymore. He's like, you can't be friends with Mariah anymore. She's a bad influence. I'm like, well, why? What has she done? He's like, no, I don't like her. I don't want you to be around her. You need to stop hanging out with her. And he could not give me an answer. So I think I snuck over like that next day or later that night and played it for Mariah. I was like, what do I even do? Because again. You were one of my closest friends at that point. That was being honest with me.
I did. I am devious a little bit. I did give her some advice. I told her from now on when they started fighting, and we tried to start a fight with her, that she should sit on the couch and kick her feet back on the coffee table.
I have a picture of that.
And
of her like giving me an example.
With like her hands behind her head and just be like, what? Like, and he lost. And I don't know why, I just knew it would bother him.
Psychological warfare.
Yeah, and I'm just like, listen, you want to play this game, I'm probably gonna win. Like, but he was just like, ever since you started hanging out with Mariah, like, you have an attitude. I'm like, does she have an attitude or is she sticking up for herself? Like,
that's what it was. And Mariah is the first person to teach me how to stick up for myself and how to set boundaries. And like I said, everyone needs a Mariah in their life.
I mean, if you could buy one of me at Target, you know, I can't be alone with myself for too long. I overwhelm myself, but apparently I'm not that terrible. All right, do we need any more details, or are we ready to psychoanalyze this piece of shit?
So ironically, I wrote in my notes
that
insecure, so we're talking about attachment bonds, I'll get a little bit further into that, but insecure attachment is not psychopathology. Unfortunately.
No, it's not. There's a difference between a psychopath and like just a normal mental problem.
Right, so what you're talking about is a lot of other things, but most of the population actually has an insecure attachment bond, and like you guys said, this is not professional advice.
She just has the big brain and I'm picking it, guys, so blame anything and everything on me. I take the blame for a lot of things because I don't give a fuck, so.
Alright, humans evolved to form attachment bonds for things like protection, resources, especially if you're popping out kids. You're gonna need someone to put food on the table or protect your little tribe. The need for attachment bonds is present from the very minute we're born. It's biological. Our first attachment bonds are to our parents, and that's kind of where we learn whether or not a caregiver will be there when we need them, or if they'll fall off the face of the earth, whatever. And then as we get older, we kind of shift that to our peers. So your first friendships, you kind of model after the relationship that you have with your parents. And we come out with this internal working model that can either be secure, which is like, okay, I know someone's going to be there for me when I need them, and I'm comfortable being there for that same person. People. Exactly. A lot of it's like reciprocal. And then we have a couple other types of attachment. And the majority, I forget the percentage, the overwhelming majority falls within being anxiously attached.
That's me.
That's me.
That's me.
I'll call myself out right now.
That is, I want to say it's like 60% of
Are
the
you
population.
that too? Are you anxious attached?
Yeah.
Really?
And I didn't realize it until I took this counseling course, and I was like, oh, I called it my daddy issues class.
Really?
Yeah, there would be, and it was crazy. There would be people in there that would, tear up, and it got deep. So
I'd be like, I need to go to the bathroom.
Gone the entire time.
There were days I didn't go. I couldn't always handle it, but I've brought it to you guys, so.
All right, so can I ask a question? Are we good to ask questions?
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm anxious attached or if there's a mixture in between, because.
Wait, real quick, like anxious attached. You said, like you told us earlier before this even started, like brief synopsis, like what is it?
Yeah, so I'll read you guys off of, I told you both earlier, I wrote them in the style of, pretend I'm reading you your horoscope.
Yeah.
This may be right, may not be right, there are going to be things you identify with.
Yeah, and things that you might not, yeah.
Exactly, so I'll start with anxious attachment because,
It's me.
So these people are hypervigilant to their partner's needs and desires based on how they have been hurt in the past. So they don't want to be abandoned because they're not meeting their partner's needs. In this type of relationship, a lack of sex actually worries them as it feels threatening to the relationship. And so they may try to elicit any kind of emotions from their partner. Maybe you're being petty and want to piss someone off, or sometimes these people will even withhold sex to get a reaction from a partner who is not showing any emotion. They might feel that they have a lot of sex, but do not often feel satisfied with it. They are worried about attractiveness, fear that their partner will lose interest, or fear that they will be left. Alright.
Spawn of Satan. Spawn of Satan was definitely anxious attached.
Right.
You met Spawn of Satan, you know.
Yes, I have met Spawn of Satan.
Yes.
I could see that.
I could see that.
For sure.
And then the other one, yeah.
Second major type,
Because there's like four, isn't there like four?
There are two main ones, and then there's a secure one, and then you can have mixtures of all of them. The next major one is avoidant. So people with an avoidant attachment style tend to distance themselves as a protective mechanism based on how they've been hurt in the
Why
past.
are you looking at me like that?
I'm sorry.
I told you can be both. You can absolutely be both.
We'll get into it. All right, continue.
They may be compulsively self-reliant, that is aggressively independent, and they want to make sure everyone knows it. They have more casual sex, are more prone to cheating, and overall they tend to lean away from feelings of intimacy.
Right.
They are losing it. I'm so sorry, you guys.
I'm sorry.
I'm like
I'm not
halfway
trying
there.
to interrupt. But like every point, I'm just like not looking at Mariah, but then it describes her. Not
Continue. I'm not trying to interrupt. I'm gonna try to pull it together.
I will drag it out as long
Okay.
as we need to.
Listen, I need this.
They may go to extreme measures to protect themselves from their partner's negative emotions. So an example of that could be if somebody ghosts you because they think that you're mad. They want to protect themselves from feeling anything negative towards them. They are more likely to repress their own negative emotions during conflict, which would be putting your feet up on the coffee table.
Leaning back with your hands behind your head.
Exactly, and a lot of times they will leave their conflicts and uncomfortable feelings unresolved. And then before we get into that, I'm just gonna finish out by saying this, is not psychopathology, this is a protective mechanism. And, as humans, we try to predict our future pain to lessen the blow when we're expecting something to happen based on our experience-based expectations, what's happened in our past. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you might actually be subconsciously manifesting.
Manifesting it and sabotaging yourself.
You may be manifesting that shit, and we will pick our partners who fit into our own predictions.
Spawn of Satan. Alright, because I think I do fit into both, and I'm ready, guys, listen, y'all know you're not gonna offend me, I'm ready to be psychoanalyzed. What do you think, Becca?
I think you're avoidant.
You think I'm avoidant? You don't think I'm anxiously attached at all?
Some, but everything that she said, I'm serious. I could give you specific examples. If she one bullet point, if she said it, I could give you a specific story of what you.
Ooh, great. Let's tell stories.
Oh my god. I don't know. Okay, pick a random one. Pick a random one, and I'll tell you a story.
Listen,
about
y'all.
Mariah.
Let's not drop no names. I'm not trying to get any of my boyfriends mad at me. Just kidding, guys. I'm single, and Hinge is looking real dry lately. So
it's even worse on an island in the middle of the Pacific.
Exactly. Ooh, I know for my conflict one.
You can think
for conflicts, dude, people hate fighting with me because it's never gonna go the way that they plan it to go.
No.
And I hate passive aggressiveness. I hate it. I can't stand it, and I will not. I won't respond to it. So people get so frustrated with me because they're trying to. Well, that makes sense though, because it's like I know how to elicit an emotion out of somebody else, but people don't know how to elicit an emotion out of me. And it's not that I'm unemotional whatsoever. You know me well. You both know me very well. But what I will say is I think I'm pretty unpredictable.
Yes.
And so somebody will do something petty to try to get a reaction out of me, and then they get upset because I won't allow, you control your own reaction. And I always say this, and I know you think the same thing. You cannot control other people's actions. The only thing you can control are your actions and how you react to things, right? Yes. And what do they say? They say 90% of life is just reacting to situations, right?
For sure.
How you react, right? 10% of it is the actual situation, 90% of it is how you actually react to the situation. So people will try to pull petty things with me, and then they get mad at me, and they're like, well, why aren't you talking to me? And I'm like, you know what you did. And they're just like, well, I only did that because I was mad at you. And I'm like, okay, so you just wanted to make it worse? What were you planning to get out of this?
And exactly what they're doing there is they are someone with an anxious attachment style, and that is activated for them. They're like, I need a reaction out of this person. I don't know why I did what I did. I just needed to see her
get any kind of reaction.
Do something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because it's not just it's not even just romantic relationships. My friends have done it. Me and Michelle, God bless, I love Michelle. Her and I have been best friends for 8-9 years. But I think I used to be anxious attached, and I think I did a lot of self work, and then somehow I accidentally ended up avoidant attached.
I'm saying who you are now is definitely avoidant. I could
Before I was probably a couple years ago I was probably anxious attached, but now I look at how I am now, and I started changing. And my friends didn't know how to fight with me anymore. They were getting so confused and pissed off because they were just like, I've never seen her like this. She's never done this, and I don't know what to do. And they really did not know how to handle me. And it wasn't in a bad way, but I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I don't know if we could say one's better or one's worse necessarily.
No,
I just think I switched how I like deal with things now, you know?
Yeah. I would say, yeah. Well, that was the thing, is like a lot of people would try to do something to elicit a response out of you, and it just depends. Some days.
I used to give it to him. I used to give it to him all the time.
There's some days where you will get Mariah, like full blown in your face.
Dude, if I wake up first thing, this is the thing, I really notice this. If it's something when I first wake up in the morning, game over, shit's done. Like, if I hate like, especially now, why are people calling me? I literally, and this is a thing too, I was telling her the other day, I really want a video.
Every time she gets a text, she's like, who the fuck's texting me?
Every single time. And it's so dumb to me because it could be anybody. And I probably texted them first to like find something out. Like, it could have been you. I could have been like, hey Sarah, are you still coming over? I texted you. And then all of a sudden my phone vibrates and I'm like, who the fuck is texting me? And I'm like, it's not their fault. But, shit, what was I talking about? This is why I'm turning this upside down. I hate when people bother me. We were talking about something.
People getting a response out of
you. Yeah.
If it's in the morning, like, sometimes you'll text Mariah, like, and you'll get a reaction out of her, but like nowadays, it's like a 3 to 5 business day response because she's busy.
That's the thing, I think I'm busier than I've ever been in my entire life, but I think that changed my attachment style.
I agree.
I really think it did because I think people, and this is, I'm gonna say this, if you have an anxious attachment style, get fucking hobbies. Make yourself so busy that you don't have time to
wonder why.
You know, and we're gonna dig deep into that shit. Hold on a second. My thing is, I'm busier than I've ever been in my entire life, and I think that when I was younger, and before I did a lot of self-work, because I'm not done, you're never done growing, but before I did a lot of self-work, if somebody wanted a reaction out of me, they were gonna get it. Now, I'm like, bitch, I'm tired. Like, I don't feel like dealing with this, you know? And so now people who've dealt with me for like years are just like, who are you? And I'm just like, I can't do this with you today, which is actually really mean to say probably, but sometimes, like, and this is another thing I learned, and I think you'll like this. Whenever I need to talk to Becca, I'm always like, hey, are you in the mental headspace to deal with this right now? Or how are you doing mentally? And I feel like that's a huge thing that her and I do and that people should do more often with their friends, because it's not like we don't care. It's, how are you doing mentally? Can you handle the situation I need to talk to you about? I need your advice. I need to talk to you, like, whatever. And she does that with me, and I appreciate that. And as I've grown and gotten busier and shit, you know, but
it's also how we check in on each other, too.
Like,
we don't have time to sit and hold each other's hands for hours at a time. It's just like, hey, I got a vent real quick. Are you okay? Like, can you just handle this little 5-minute conversation? Are you doing okay? So, and it's worked for us.
And here's another thing. Let's talk about social media really quick. She's been with me for a week. How often have you seen me not running around with my head cut off? Name one day that I had nothing to do.
I think that was about 2 hours ago when we laid down for a 30-minute nap.
Exactly. Like, you can't tell somebody that they're not busy. You can't tell somebody what their priorities are. Like, I'm not lying, I am busy. And that's the thing, like, as you grow and stuff like that, you know what, I could do a whole episode on people disrespecting my time, but that's not what we're here to do today.
Not today.
But, yeah, we should talk about, I think adding hobbies for people who have anxious attachment styles.
I agree. I think that's
like my friend Sarah here, who started baking bread during COVID.
I make so much bread.
Wait, what's your favorite type of bread to make?
Oh my gosh, I make this cinnamon thing. It's called babka, and it's just like this braided cinnamon butter log, and it just tastes like cinnamon.
A braided cinnamon butter log, yeah. I'm gonna need 5 of those.
I should have brought some, but I ran out of time this week. But to bring it back to attachment, yeah, what you're saying is like you've built a new framework for all of your relationships. They all fall into that, and being able to say, hey, I'm busy, it's nothing to do with you, or hey, I can't handle this conversation right now, it's nothing to do with you, is part of being a secure piece in someone else's attachment. So that's huge that you guys do that.
Well, and that's the thing too, I think you always have to think too, if I don't do this at some point, I'm going to snap, right? I wouldn't be surprised if I end up on that show Snapped. I don't know. I mean, it depends what day of the week it is, because I'm not saying I couldn't end up on Snapped, but wouldn't you rather, it's like, and this is, listen, we're not talking about this for our own health, guys. We're here to help you too. But wouldn't you rather hit your friend up and be like, hey, like, are you in the mental space for this? Hey, I'm taking an exam, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm juggling a lot of things, can I call you in a couple hours? Are you okay? Whatever. Because if you don't do that, one day you guys are going to snap on each other, you're going to say things that you don't mean. And I'm a big, huge person. I never say things I don't mean. I never ever do that, and I hate when people do that, and then they're like, well, we were fighting, and I'm like, yeah, that's not how that works. Like, once you put it out there, you can't get it back. I was going to make a really gross sex joke about that, but I'm not going to do that, because I'm trying to be a lady today. But, yeah, coming from somebody who's changed their attachment style, not to say necessarily for the better, but I was talking to her about this last night. The anxiety, literally the key word in that attachment style is anxious attached. The anxiety of why isn't he texting me back, or why isn't she texting me back, and the excuses that you make for people. Well, he's probably really busy. Maybe he's helping an old lady cross the street, or maybe she's doing a puzzle with her mom, and like maybe her Wi-Fi's like not working, or she's only got one bar. Listen, I'm gonna give it to you straight. I liked a guy, you know who I'm talking about. I liked a guy a couple years ago, and he was super busy, and I was making all these excuses for him. Well, he's not busy anymore. Stop texting me. And you have to set boundaries and stuff like that, and you can't. People with anxious attachment styles, we make excuses for people.
Yes, we do.
And
for sure.
And I know I've switched, because I'll catch myself and I'll tell her, I'm done making excuses for people, If you don't want to do the work, and you said something to me the other day that I want to bring up, if you don't want to do the work on yourself, I can't do anything about that. I worked hard to do my self-work, and Sarah was saying something the other day about how women are more likely to do the self-work and we do it faster. Can you elaborate on this?
Sure, yeah. So there's something called human giver syndrome, and this was touched on in a book that I was reading recently. It's called Burnout, Emily Nagoski and Amelia Nagoski, and they're amazing. But they did a whole bunch of work on stress and what happens when we as women just give and give and give, and we're kind of meant to support these people who are above us, these human beings, and it's the giver's job to just give and give and give, and that's why we burn out. That's why, nursing.
That's why we get old and fat faster?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, so, and I think women are, in that way, more inclined to work on themselves, because they're like, well, I give all
because
this
it's just
stuff.
a way of giving to yourself, if you think about it.
And we do have to practice that, because we're so, if you're feeling like a human giver, it's because you're giving to other people, and you have to eventually, switch up the boundaries and give to yourself. And women are typically, statistically, faster in doing the work.
We're just better at everything, guys. I hate to break it to you, but it's true. We're just better at everything. Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you know you can.
And bleeding.
Yeah. If I can bleed for 7 to 10 days and not die, I literally don't want anybody. Sam, I'm really sorry that you had to be here for this. I don't want anybody telling me what to do if you can't bleed for that long and not die. Okay, I'm just gonna point that out. We don't even need them, honestly. This is why I'm gonna die at home, but it's okay. But yeah, I don't ever want to go back to that though, that anxiety-induced just like state of, we had a situation, we're not gonna go there, but I talked to a friend recently, and she liked this guy, and I was just like, hey, wouldn't you feel better if you just left? Because you don't really know what's going on anyway, and wouldn't you feel better if you just like left with what pride you have, and like you put that boundary down? And I was just like asking her, I was like, hey, do you love yourself? And she looked at me, and she was just like, I was like, listen, it's just us in the room. Like, you can be honest, because I'm brutally honest. But I don't think I'm brutally honest like in an unkind way though.
No.
Like I'm brutally honest with myself too. So I was like, do you love yourself? And she was just like, no. And she was like, but I don't know how to love myself. Like, where do I start? That sounds like such like an arduous task, right? Look at me with the big words today, guys. Come on, seriously. And I was just like, the first step of self-love is setting boundaries. Because once you set boundaries for other people in your life and for yourself, you build this safe community inside of yourself, a safe space for you to grow. And that's the hardest part. The hardest part is really believing that you don't deserve to be treated like shit. Like, you really don't. Like, but the issue is, if you're letting yourself be treated like shit, you don't have anybody to blame but yourself. So you have to take a really hard look in the mirror and be like, now, I'm gonna take that, hold on a second, because I'm not saying like, oh, you're getting the shit kicked out of you, like that's your fault. No, I'm not saying that. Also, give me his address. But what I am saying is, you are the only person who has the ability to change your life, right?
You're the leading lady in your life.
I have always told her this, and when she was about to be like going through her divorce, I was like, you're not gonna be a supporting character in your own story. You are the leading lady in your life. This is your grand romantic novel. This is your adventure, and you're not about to be like tree number 2 on the side, you know, waving your arms around while some other bitch is the leading lady in your story. Like, you're not about to do it. Like, you have to look at your life. You have to, I saw this thing on Instagram the other day and I loved it. It said you have to romanticize your life.
Yeah,
you know,
you
have to romanticize your life, and Prozac's definitely helping me do that.
Amen.
I love you. I'll just be like in my car and I'm like, damn, that's a real pretty tree. Like, or damn, Baltimore don't look nearly as ugly today. Like,
Prozac, you just vibe in your car.
Do.
Everybody has said that.
I don't know why. Everybody that I've talked to that's on Prozac, this is what happens on Thotology. I'm just gonna take it this way and then we'll take it back. Prozac, it's like you're in your car and you're just like, damn, I'm in a really good mood and I don't know why, but I'm gonna fuck with it and it's great. I love it. I'm just saying, guys, everybody needs a little bit of help every once in a while.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, listen, if you have an anxious attachment style, start baking bread. Start baking bread. Mm-hmm. Start OxyCleaning your shoes in the sink at your house. Like, start folding your shirts and shit. And, like, I think that's another thing, too. When you're talking about self-love, do you or do you not agree that cleaning your house is so important?
It is.
100%.
Because this is the thing. It's not even about being, like, anal. It's about, if you love yourself and you care about yourself, you have to show that to yourself. So, like, I've had friends that, like, their shit will be in piles, and, like, I know when I've been depressed or I've been, you know, whatever, I wasn't, like, the cleanest. You know me, I'm not dirty. There's a difference between messy and dirty. You're not gonna be finding, like, dirty, like, plates underneath my couch and shit. But I'm ADHD, right? So, it's just, like, she was at my house last night. Literally, I got in the door, stripped naked in my living room, put on sweatpants, and then I was looking for something later that I had already had on, and I was like, wait a minute, where is that? And I was like, oh yeah, I took it off in the living room, like.
The pile.
The pile. Just like, you can find,
chair in
you
the corner.
can find me in my house by the random, like, it starts at the front door. It's like shoe, sock, pants, shirt, if I wore a bra that day, undergarment, other shoe, and then there's me. And then you just have to follow the trail of clothes and you find me. But yeah, guys, if you have an avoidant attachment style, ooh, let's dig in on this real quick, because I'm not the only one with one, and I talked to you about him the other day. Alright, guys, if you have an avoidant attachment style, how about you realize that you need to do some fucking self-work, okay? And not everybody's out to hurt you or harm you, alright? And you're not like some misunderstood soul who's never going to be happy with anybody. Like, stop being so dramatic. This isn't My Chemical Romance, okay? Like, calm down, take the eyeliner off, and let's sit down and talk about it like fucking adults, okay? Because I'm really tired of everybody's shit today. I'm exhausted. But anyway, guys, I really appreciate you coming in and talking to me. They're actually going to be on our next episode. Becca, do you want to tell them your Instagram?
Yeah, it's 92 Rebecca Ray. Super original.
On Instagram. And then Sarah lives underneath a rock. She does not believe.
I turned into a pumpkin.
I turned into a pumpkin.
That's
yeah.
I exist in person only.
Exactly. She only exists in person. She's my fraternal twin. Sometimes we tell people that we're from Canada just to keep things spicy. But anyway, I love you guys. Stay out the streets, girl. Work on your attachment style.
Love yourself.
Love yourself. Make some bread. Oh, we're gonna make bread this winter. We're gonna make so much fucking bread. I gotta stop saying the F word so much. No, I don't. Listen, work on your attachment style. Leave your ex-husband, you know? Like, I'll help you. I've helped a lot of people leave their husband. Like, follow, subscribe, Mariah Malabuji, blah, 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 blah. Peace, love, and pumpkins, okay? Bye.
Bye.